And we're back. Season 4 of the Girl Dad Show. I am so excited to be here and so grateful for all the support and words that you have shared throughout this journey. I cannot believe that we are doing season 4 of this show. This started off as a whim project, and now it's become part of who I am and have really taken over my life in existence here. I've had quite a few existential crises around the show over the last few months, especially as I keep doing this thing, and now I'm here, season 4. It has not been an easy journey, but I'm so glad to be here, and I'm so glad that you've followed along and joined in. And I'm excited to kick this off. And by the time you're listening to this, it should be Father's Day. And so every year we take a break and we catch up on content, retweak the thesis and the trajectory of the show. And as humans evolve, and as I evolve, and as my kids evolve, the show is also evolving, and this is no different. So today I'm going to catch you up on everything that I've been thinking about and working on as it relates to being a dad, a professional dad, and professional, also a dad, and just talk to you guys about what the show is going to be like. And so let's jump into it because there's a lot to go over, and I haven't talked to you guys in a really long time. And I think the shares that I want to share with you are some of these things that I've been really thinking about as it relates to the show, but also as it relates to being a girl dad and parent in this day and age. And it all kind of starts with the fact that when you think about Father's Day, it makes me think about like what I want to be as a dad, and why I started this show. Do I want to continue it? Why am I doing it? Because it takes a lot of time and energy and money to do this show, and just really curiosity around, the whole concept of relaunching again on Father's Day and what it means to be a father. And like I mentioned earlier, there's been a lot of like thinking around this over the last few weeks as I've taken this break, and it's been really, really helpful for me to kind of frame my mind on how I want to progress and what I want to be like as a dad. But it really starts with a couple of things that I've noticed. One is the macro challenges. I've been incredibly stressed out over the last 6 months, and definitely having the hardest 3 months I've had in a really long time. It's been really rough all through the last couple of years, up and down, up and down, up and down. But the last 9 months have been tremendously hard because for me, the market has been going negatively, progressively over the last 9 months. And that's kind of off the back of, just kind of a lot of cataclysmic changes in the world and things. But I know there are a lot of people thriving right now, and I know there's a lot of say that the market is going well. But for me, in my anecdotal data, and then the community of business owners that I work with in Owners Club, we're noticing that there's a huge slowdown, and it's been rough. It's been rough being a small business owner, and it's been really hard over the last like 6 to 9 months, especially. And that has really made it challenging for me to be the best dad that I can be. And it's been really rough for me, and that's really impacted me a lot and made it very challenging and hard. But the second thing that's really been impacting me is the fact that my kids are also growing up and they're evolving a lot. And it's been very difficult to adjust to those changes without being as present as I need to be, both quantitatively and qualitatively. And I think there's a lot to talk about here, but let's jump in by first saying that the first thing I want to talk about is really around just connection and storytelling. I feel like my relationship with my kids has been really hard to manage over the last few months because my mind isn't all there, and I can't stop thinking about the work problems that are demanding my attention and how to make money and how to feed them essentially. But one of the cool things that we did start doing a while ago was really around storytelling. And so we have done this thing where we have started to tell each other nighttime stories. The 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 framework for it is like we started doing these stories where the girls go on this spaceship that takes them to new times, worlds, and magical places, and then we invent a story where they overcome a problem or a challenge, and they get magical items along the way, and they solve the problem through either riddles or through some sort of like adversity overcoming. and then we safely go home and we say goodnight. And it was very popular. It was really, really popular with the kids, and both girls loved it so much. And we were in this kind of mode where it was like really fun to do these nighttime stories together. And I started to use AI for it, and I started writing these great chapters, right? That were literally like evolutions carried over day by day. They encompassed all these really unique riddles and stories and plot lines. There was protagonists and all these different characters, and it was kind of cool. But I lost Lily through this process, and I'm not sure if it's because she's starting to like kind of be too cool for school. She's like getting these little like flares of maturity, and I think she's struggling with figuring out that balance of like what she thinks is cool and not, and what she finds interesting and not. And so that could be it, but it could also be because it starts to become too formulaic and processed. I'm not entirely sure, but I will say that we stopped using AI after about a couple of weeks, and I started going back to making up the stories myself in the spot, in the moment, that night, and then involving the kids to help me tell the story. And this nighttime storytelling activity has become really, really popular, especially with Grace. And I can talk Lily into joining once in a while, but mostly it's been with Grace, and we love it. And every night she asks me if we can do a story. Do I have time to do a story? And sometimes I do have to work late, so I can't do it all the time. But we've gotten the habit of doing these stories and actually now recording them. And so we record these stories that we tell each other, and she participates here and there, and she'll add like names of the characters, or she'll help me come up with the problem that they have to solve. And so it's been really an incredible connection moment and a thing that we do. And it's even more fun when we're kind of hanging out during the day and listening to these stories and these recordings. And it's incredibly fun and engaging for me to spend that kind of time with my kids in that way. That's like, collaborative and thoughtful and creative and fun. It's just fun. But I will say that the problems are that I can't always do it, and trying to temper that balance of finding when I can do it and engage with them, and how do I incorporate Lily into it as well too, so that she's engaged as she goes through this transformation in her chapter of growing up. And it kind of leads to my second point, which is really around balancing these things, because you know these moments are so precious and these moments are so amazing, but I'm also noticing that they're just getting older. Grace is starting to get more confident, and she's starting to grow up, and she's scheduling play dates, and she's very shy, so it's just kind of a big deal for me. But it also alludes to the fact that like kids will be okay no matter what, because if they don't do this right now, or they show these characteristics, like just love on them. They're all going to grow up and change and evolve. I was always worried that she was going to be too timid and shy, and very scared of things and trying new things. But like just the way it is, like in life, they're not going to be the same person they were when they're 3 years old as they're five, and five when they're 20, and 20 when they're 40. Right? We're all going to evolve and grow and change, and all you really need to do is love them and just be there and support them, and they will evolve, because she's becoming very, very confident, and she's a lot more outgoing with stuff, and speaks up, and it's really great to watch. And then being able to watch Lily starting to evolve, and all she wants to do is read books, and wants to kind of like be a part of decision making, and she's really trying to find herself. I don't know what's going on, to be honest with you, but there's a lot of stuff going on with her brain right now, and it's really fascinating to have these kind of arguments slash conversations with her. She seems very frustrated in the way that she's projecting her inability to talk through what she's frustrated about. But I also know that it's probably just more her mind not being able to keep up with what she's feeling and learning, and talking about social pressures from school, and how, she's noticing, there's friends that are clicking together, and like understanding what popularity means, and all these things. And so I can imagine it's a very critical time for her development. And so I'm trying to be, one, aware of it, so that the time that I do have, I'm being more thoughtful to her. But two, also just trying to find more time to be thoughtful for her, right? And show her an example of what I think, those situations mean, and help her work through it and think through it in a way that's healthy and productive. And it's all compounded because, I'm not a full time dad, and it's hard to find those moments to do that. And sometimes you just need to be there. You just need to be available to be there to have those conversations. And then if you are there by pure circumstance and luck, you need to mentally be there to be ready to talk to them about these things, because I've caught myself trying to find the time to be a dad during these times where I'm like really stressed out and working super hard. And I'm noticing that I'm shorter in my responses and I'm not the best dad in those moments. I'm trying to quickly resolve problems versus like listen and talk through things. And I think that that's a really interesting concept as I think about Father's Day and the evolution of the father. And when I think about Father's Day now versus like even my dad, it's evolved quite a bit. And I think that has a lot to do with the fact that, we have a lot more infrastructure built. We're a lot more comfortable as a human race in America. And there are things that we can now provide that are taking over some of the things that we had to build previously. So I think there's a lot of that. But I also think that the social norms and the work that we do now has evolved enough to allow for us to be more sophisticated, quite frankly, with our child rearing and the roles that we play. And I think that my role as a dad is to really parlay to them, you know, through my actions and who I am, what kind of adult and human being I want them to be, but also in a lot of respects, the type of partner that they're going to look for in the future, right? Helping them bench that out and understand what it means to be a good partner to my wife and a good human being to myself, and also a good human being and society member to the community. And so trying to understand how to like role model all these things through activity, but also words is really how I see fatherhood in this day and age. And we no longer have to follow the social norms and cues of just being a worker or doing X, Y, and Z or any of the other stereotypes that come with being a dad. I think that the role of the dad has evolved tremendously. And for me, as I think about like social media and peer pressure and all the complications that come with being a kid today versus the life that I had as a kid previously, I'm sorry, previously, the life that I had as a kid growing up, I just feel like there's so much more that I need to be involved in, because I think it complicates things so much more. There's so much more access to data. There's so much more access to peer pressure. And there's so much access to like bullying, whether that's through accidental bullying or intentional. There's just more access to everything. Everything's so much more connected, and in a lot of ways it's great, because it's a great evolution for ease and efficiency. But as it relates to developing who you are and who you want to be, I think there can be a lot of cons to that as well. And I think the only way to counteract it is just by being more present as a father and being more active in those experiences to help them navigate what my thoughts are, not necessarily projecting it onto them. Although I do think that that needs to happen to a certain degree because they need a baseline to start. But I do think that, being a part of that experience and being able to talk them through the values and how to critically think about problems and how to make judgments around that is really the role as we move forward. And I'm really, really kind of sad and focused on it because I know it's the role that I want to take, whether it's accurate or not. I know that's what I feel and that's my opinion, and I do want to do that. But I'm kind of sad because over the last 6 months, it's been tremendously hard to one provide that time to just be with my kids and just be around those instances that these things come up. And then two, like when I am there, I'm having a really hard time, focusing on getting to their level and really like listening and thinking things through because I'm so overwhelmed with work. And so I just wanted to share that because I'm hoping that other dads out there will listen to this and realize that they're not alone, and it's a problem. It's the market is hard, and I know there's a lot of people thriving right now, and social media can be a really great tool, but it can also be horrendous too, right? When you see all these people doing so well during this really strange time. But I will tell you that it's tough. It's tough for a lot of us. And I've had the great fortune of building my little mini communities of of dads, and I've built a lot of friends that I can talk to very real and authentically about this stuff. And a lot of us are struggling. A lot of us are struggling both at work and also being that present father that we want to be. And it's an incredibly hard time. But I think what motivates me is that, all things shall pass. And you have to believe that you can win in order to win. And the last thing I was going to say was that you only have, like, gosh, what am I going to say? You only have the ability to control what you can control. And so focusing in on what you can control and how you want to react to the changes in the world is really what you can do. And do the best that you can, and just reach out to people to talk to them, and get advice and get help, and help each other, help other people, and really creating that environment and ecosystem to, help navigate through these times if you are having a hard time. And if you're not, and you're thriving through these kind of changes with AI and the market and the economy, yeah, please just keep in mind that there are a lot of people struggling right now. It's been a really tough time for people getting laid off, not making money, trying to find work, and cost of living and all this other stuff. And so I think that the biggest thing I can recommend is just know that, everything does come back around, and you really have two choices on how you want to handle problems. One is, you can, try to wrap your brain around how to navigate it, and try to be positive as you can. And great ways to do that is build community and network, and find your clan, and express how you feel even. Two is, the alternative is to just kind of wallow in it, which, you know, if the world's going to go to shit, the world's going to go to shit. Like, you have a better chance of salvaging it and making money and navigating it by being positive. So I think it's really important to have that understanding and mindset logically, that your chances are better to succeed if you're more proactive. And then the last thing I was going to say was something my dad talked to me about, and I'm sure it's an actual saying from someone famous, but it's really this concept that it's easy to be great when times are good. It's truly a great person that's great when times are bad. And really thinking through that concept has been really important to me right now, because it's bad for me, and it's pretty hard trying to find clients, and trying to make money, and trying to balance the increasing cost of running a business. Everything is just really tight and hard right now. And so it's been really good concept for me to kind of socialize in my mind and just kind of permeate, because it helps me navigate my day to day, my hour to hour, and how I approach people, and what kind of energy I'm projecting out for, my connections and my network, but also for myself. And so kind of going back to the role of the father, as I think about Father's Day, is that I think it's really, really important that we are more present, and we are listening, and we're more thoughtful, because there's so many more things that our kids are going through than we did. And I also think that it's really important that you, as a dad and father, find a community and network of other dads that you can talk to, or even other parents that you can talk to if you are struggling, and if you are finding hardships in navigating your life, in a mixture of career, health, mental health, family, and all those other things, right? And then my last piece of advice is really around this idea that, like, you need to inevitably be vulnerable enough to share it with people. And again, this may be something that I'm just kind of being stereotypical about, but men don't typically share their problems, and mostly because no one really does anything about it, right? So it's kind of like, why share if you just have to keep struggling through it and just working through it anyways? But I think there's something really powerful about being able to share. And the reality is, if you do share your problems and you can clearly articulate what you think the problem is, you're more likely to find people that can help you. And I truly do believe that the world is inherently good. And if you can surround yourself with good people, they can help you. If you can articulate your problem, well, they can help you with that problem, or they have a high chance of being able to help you. And you can return that favor when they're down, and they can articulately, share their problem, and you can reciprocate that action and value. And so we can all help each other get out of this situation or these times by having good connections, good friends, and good communities. And I think for me, just on Father's Day, I'm just sharing with other dads out there, and all parents really, but because it's Father's Day, I just want to focus on the dads that, don't get sucked up into, you know, muscling through things without sharing it, because there's so many ways to solve problems and start to build momentum. It all comes from articulating what you need so that people can help respond to you and be able to help you more effectively. So that's kind of my one piece of advice. Lastly, just to kind of wrap out what I want to talk about as it relates to what I'm doing, is I want to close out by sharing what season 4 is going to be looking like. I went through a lot of back and forth on how to do this podcast. I've cut down on a ton of different business activities because it has been truly so challenging to keep costs down while I'm trying to generate more revenue. And so it's been really rough. And, this show is a cost center for me. And so I've debated on whether I want to keep doing it or not. And is it worth it? And I don't know. I may actually cut it short, season 4, depending on how business goes over the next few months. But for now, I definitely feel like I want to continue to do it, but I want to do it in a new way. So season 4 is going to be a little bit more unique in that we're going to limit how many episodes we do. So we're just going to go every other week instead of being a weekly show. And we're going to continue on with the interviews. And I'm very excited about these interviews because it's one of the main reasons I love doing the show. Is I love talking to successful parents that are navigating success while they're navigating parenting, because it helps me learn. I want to do both things so well. I want to be a successful professional, but I also want to be a successful parent. And talking to people that are already, doing it is really helpful for me to, one, just learn from, understand, gain insights, but two, be able to marinate that thought process into my brain so that I can process it all and figure out how I want to adapt or change things that I'm doing. And it's an incredibly powerful channel to this journey that I'm on. And so I'm going to keep that, except I'm going to really hyper focus on having really, really valuable guests that have something very specific to say and teach me. And so I'm going to lean more towards guests that have, overcome challenges that have led impacts both to their business and also to their parenting style. And I'm really going to focus on finding, guests that are outsized successes and how they've navigated and or failed in both parenting and in business to get to that outside success, and really talk through these problems, because I think in those instances is where we will all learn the most, and I know I will learn the most. And that's really what I want to get out of this now. This show is really going to be about how do you learn from other people, and how do you learn from other people's successes, but also their failures. And I'm really curious about that. And then the second thing I'm going to do is every other week, we're going to continue on with the Girl Dad Talks. But the Girl Dad Talks are going to be much shorter. They're going to be shorter like this, 15 or 20 minutes. And I'm going to bring on a fellow dad that's in my dad community of entrepreneurs and builders that are also raising families and hyper-focused on this concept, and just banter about kind of current affairs and just talk through, things that are on our minds that are related to being a parent in this day and age, as it relates to AI and college and, communal living and all these things that are starting to populate in our minds as we evolve and grow. And so that's kind of the new thesis for season 4. I'm super excited about it. I think it's going to be really good for me. And I think it's going to hopefully be a lot more interesting for you to follow along. And as always, please, please, please let me know if you have any questions, thoughts, and if you want to nominate yourself and or a guest that you think would be a great fit for this new thesis of the show. I'll re-articulate it. I'm looking for people that have outsized successes that are willing to share their journey of failure and trials and tribulations to get there, both in family and in business. And so we can all learn together. And if that's you, let me know. We'll update the website so you can submit yourself. And if you have someone that I should talk to, please let me know via the website and or in social media. I'm really, really excited about doing this and really being clear about how I want to evolve this into a more focused, effort for me to learn. And I think that that'll be more interesting for me at the very least, and hopefully more interesting for you. But thank you again for tuning into another episode of the Girl Dad Show. I'm so excited to be here. And for now, we're going to continue on with season 4 and see how we can't rock this party and continue to grow and build a fulfilling life for all ourselves through life lessons and stories from others. Thank you again for all of your support. Looking forward to seeing what you think about season 4 as we progress, and let's get after it.